beef and gailan, otherwise known as a Chinese broccoli. This is such a simple dish, but it is so delicious and satisfying, especially served with a hot steaming bowl of white rice. You've got to try this Cantonese favorite. Hey everyone, I'm Flo, Duties Behind the Camera, and we're all about simple food, simple faith. You know, this dish is so simple, but it is so good. Let's get started. This recipe is very similar to my beef and broccoli recipe that you can find in my cookbook, Chinese Home Style. And I also have how to make gailan if you're just going to serve it on the side. Today, because we're going to make the beef and gailan together, I'm going to cut up my gailan into 2-inch pieces after I have washed the leaves. And gailan is pretty simple to wash. It's not like a really dirty plant. I would soak it in water with a couple teaspoons of salt just to make sure that you kill any bugs and stuff that might be hiding in the flowers or in between the leaves. And when you're buying the gailan, make sure that when you look at the bottom of the stems, that there is no white dot. When you see a white dot, it means it's getting old and it's hollowing out, it's drying out in the middle. So you don't want that. And when I say to take off the flowers, I only mean when they're blooming, not like, let me show you. Like when they're like this, it's good because this part of the gailan is the most tender part of the vegetables. You don't want to get rid of that. But once these start to bloom, they'll open up with a white flower. You'll want to remove that white flower because that's where the bugs hide out.
Yuck.
Well, that's what my dad told me. This is about 1/2 pound of gailan already chopped up. And I have a pot of water boiling. I've added 2 teaspoons of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. The sugar actually keeps the gailan green and also takes away any bitterness that the gailan may have. So I'm just gonna blanch it for a minute. I'll be right back. Right, once you've blanched the gailan, just drain it and set it aside until you're ready to use it. I have about 1/2 pound of beef flank. I'm just gonna cut this in half lengthwise. And I like using beef flank because you can see the grains. And so when they tell you to cut across the grain, that's what you need to do. So just gonna slice this thinly. And actually, if you put this in the freezer for about 20 minutes before you start slicing, it makes it easier. But y'all know I can't be bothered with that, especially because my freezer is completely full of stuff. I really need to do a cleanup in there. Putting your sliced beef in a bowl, add 1 teaspoon of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of rice wine, and you can use Shaoxing wine. I haven't been able to find it lately, and I've run out. Well, I haven't been able to find the brand that I like lately. Don't know what's happened to it. 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. And that helps to velvet your meat, make it more tender and soft. And if you have time to let this marinate, just let it sit for about 1/2 hour. I have about 1/4 cup of beef broth. And if you don't have beef broth, you can just use water, adding a tablespoon of oyster sauce and a tablespoon of dark soy. And again, if you don't have dark soy, you can just use regular soy. And 1 teaspoon of brown sugar. I have 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, adding 1 tablespoon of water, room temperature or cold water. We're just going to dissolve this, and this is our cornstarch slurry that we'll add at the end to thicken our sauce. Remember to always use cool or room temperature water, as cornstarch will not dissolve in hot water. And one last thing, I have 1 clove of garlic. I'm just going to put through my garlic press and get that ready as well. And set that aside for later. All right, we're ready to cook now. Heating up my wok to medium high to get the beef going. And if you don't have a wok, you can always just use a large frying pan, no big deal. I just find a wok is easier to stir fry the ingredients. Once you see a wisp of smoke, add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And adding your beef. Let it sit to sear a bit before moving it around. And once the beef is about 80% of the way cooked through, I'm going to remove it. Then we're going to turn the heat down to low. Just adding another tablespoon of vegetable oil. Okay, getting the garlic in there. We don't want the garlic to burn, so we're just going to quickly stir fry that for about 30 seconds until you start to smell it. Add our gailan. Adding our sauce. Okay, turning the heat back up to about medium. Now that the sauce is starting to simmer, I'm going to add our cornstarch slurry. Adding our beef back in along with all the juices. Just want to cook this for about a minute or 2 to warm everything up. All right, turning off the heat and serving it on a platter. And I just used the same plate that I had the beef in. And for some extra flavor, you can drizzle a little bit of sesame oil on top. Now, are you all ready for?
Yep. The taste. One of the home-style dishes, one of the favorites that I've taken for granted so much is beef and gailan. I've eaten it for all my life, and it's just one of those things that I've taken for granted. So, sorry, Mom. It's been so good, and I didn't realize. Ooh, hot rice. The hot steaming rice. I don't know if you guys can see it. All right, get some beef, some gailan. Oh, look, one of my favorite pieces of the gailan is the pieces with the flowers. All right, all together, perfect bite. Oh, it's a bit hot. So good, dude. So much nostalgia there. What you get is that you didn't marinate the meat for very long, but flavors are right in there with the sauces. It just comes together. It's just all together, you know? It's not just one flavor over the other that overpowers the rest. The sauces that you put in there, and then even the sesame oil that you added at the end kind of finishes the palate with that. And the beef is perfectly cooked, not tough, and that flank steak cross-cut across the grain, perfect. The gailan, the Chinese broccoli, is also perfectly cooked. We like it just a little bit softer. Not so full on crunch. And it just, the mouthfeel, it was so good with the rice, just the sauce swimming around with the rice all together. True party in the mouth and subsequently in the tummy.
All right, thanks, dude. Hope you guys can see how easy this is to make, but you have to have all your ingredients ready to go so that it's one quick stir fry at the end. For more Chinese home-style recipes, check out my cookbook. But in the meantime, for more videos, I'll see you over there.